Hello, and welcome to this sneak peek to Omega. And I am Carolyn Cushing. I'm one of the presenters this year, but I'm also just the host, hosting my first webinar. So I'm saying just a few housekeeping things. First of all, welcome. So glad you're here from all over. And there are two different ways to communicate because this is a webinar. So you're coming in without video, without audio. But if you put your little cursor down the bottom, there's something called chat, which you know from Zoom, and you just chat and say hello, say where you're coming in from, we welcome you. Then if you scroll over a little further, there's something called Q&A, and we will officially have a Q&A section. Also, as we're going on along, if you have like a burning question, you could put it in there. And then to differentiate between chat and Q&A just helps us see what are the questions so that we get back to answering them. And then the final, have a deck handy. Always, it's a tarot thing, and there will be some reading things happening. So that's housekeeping. And with that, I am so gratefully turning it over to Benebell, who's been helping us get organized and agreed to host us and spread the word, and we're so grateful.
Thank you, Carolyn. I was invited to facilitate this Q&A interview of the founder of the Wisdom of the Tarot Immersion Week, Mary Greer. She co-founded this with Rachel Pollack. And this year's keynote speakers, Terry Iacuzzo and Carolyn Cushing, who I have the great honor of introducing to you. And then we will jump right into asking them all of our great questions and learning more about the past, present, and future of this incredible event. So Mary Greer, she needs no introduction. She's everybody's tarot hero, but I will do my best to give a very small sneak peek introduction anyway. She's, as you probably already know, one of the most widely respected tarot scholars in the world right now, having authored almost a dozen books on tarot, magic, and paganism. She is an archpriestess hierophant in the Fellowship of Isis, a historian of pretty much all things tarot. And like I said, she co-founded the Wisdom of the Tarot Immersion Week at the Omega Institute alongside Rachel Pollack. Now, the two keynote speakers that we have this year will be Terry Iacuzzo and Carolyn Cushing. I will start with Carolyn. She is all around a beautiful, inspiring soul, as you are going to come to know over the course of the next hour. And she's kind of like a preeminent tarot spiritual guidance counselor. You'll often find her leading empowering rituals at various conferences internationally, and she's just a powerhouse of a tarot reader. You're going to see her facilitate one of the tarot readings inspired by Rachel Pollack's work later during this event. And then there's Terry Iacuzzo, I'm so sorry, who is actually one of my husband James's favorite tarot people. They had the chance to meet a few years back, and he finds her to be incredibly memorable, and he's always talking about you, Terry. And she also happens to be one of the most prominent psychic mediums of our time. She's the author of the memoir, Small Mediums at Large, which is a lot of our favorite books. I know a lot of my tarot and psychic medium friends say that this book inspired them into their path to become a psychic medium. So she has inspired hundreds, if not thousands, of tarot psychic mediums around the world. I hope she knows what she's done. She's the host of the exclusive tarot salon in New York City and a mystic who has been a legend in the paranormal world for over 55 years. And most important of all, she's a warm soul with an incredible, terrific sense of humor. So I want to begin with the origins and history of the Wisdom of the Tarot event. Mary, can you walk us through how this came to be?
Oh, well, it's been 38 years, actually. 39 years ago, I met the creators of the Omega Institute, Stefan Rexhoff, and Elizabeth Lesser. It's been so many years since they've been here. So they invited me to teach tarot, and so for 2 years, I taught very small classes, probably no more than a dozen people each year. And the second year, Rachel Pollack was moving back from Amsterdam to her home area, which is upstate New York. So I invited her to come as a guest on the second class. And then because she moved just down the road from the Omega Institute, she asked them about teaching tarot here. And they said, Mary's our teacher. And I said, what? Rachel has to be here. And they go, well, you'll have to share it with her. And I said, yes. And Rachel said, yes. So that became our annual event, coming here and teaching. Over the years, we've taught 5-day classes, the midweek, which is what this is, and we've also taught weekend classes. Eventually, after changing names for several years, we sort of settled on the Wisdom of the Tarot for the 5-day midweek class, and the Masters of the Tarot for the weekend. There's not really a fixed difference in the event participants. Many people come to both, but we do go more over basics during the first couple of days, first day and a half of the Wisdom of Tarot, the 5-day. And when we get to the weekend, it's full immersion in the materials that our invited speakers are going to present. So for this one, let's see. So Rachel taught with me for 38 years, minus the last 3 years with COVID, her illness, and finally her death. We've had from 8 students up to 78 students, actually, in classes, so we never know for sure how many will be here, but it has tended to grow. And especially for the Wisdom of Tarot, we start, like I said, with the basics, but presented in some kind of unique way so that even experienced people have a sense of that. And then one of the unique things about the 5-day Wisdom of Tarot is that we start with kind of an open Q&A session at every time we meet. And from that, even though we've come with particular things that we want to teach and a list of possible other things that we want to teach, we really vary it depending on the participants. And that's been, to me, one of the most exciting things about this particular 5-day week, is the fact that we can vary what we're going to do during the week based on the people that are there, their particular needs, the kinds of questions they ask. And both of us have given ourselves permission that when somebody asks a question and we think about how can I best answer that, we often come up with a completely new to us, and I think to anybody on the planet, a practical way that people can discover the answer for themselves. So some kind of experience they can have that will show them, rather than us telling them what that means and what that is. And I think that's something really unique, and we carried it over into our books. Both Rachel and I incorporated all these processes that we learned from the Wisdom of the Tarot classes. So I think that's one of our the greatest things that happen. We're experimental. We love play. We love to explore things. And it's also about community. We're not a separate hierarchical structure of teachers and students. We're all participating in our love of tarot. And we have people of all backgrounds, from beginners to professionals and teachers, and people who only read for themselves or a few friends and family, and people who read for, at fairs. That's their profession. They're online. So we have so much experience in the groups that we really want to take advantage of that whenever we can. And I think that's one thing that really makes us different. So, yeah, and I think, also, although there's a faculty dining room, Rachel and I never used it. Some people do, some faculty do, and some don't. We love to have meals and hang out with the participants. Again, we're part of a community. We meet so many amazing people who bring their own skills to us. So I think that's the other really major thing. There was one thing else I wanted to mention. If it comes up again, I will think of it. Yeah. Oh, we're still kind of finalizing our theme, but so far we've been talking about the variety in decks, even though we've used the Rider-Waite-Smith deck as kind of a focus for presentation slides and so on that we've done, because everybody's basically familiar with it. But the theme tends to be emerging as a variety and differences in decks and variety and differences in reading styles. There's not one way to read the deck. Okay.
I wanted to interject with a comment on something
Yeah.
that you had said. Charles and I were
Yes.
talking a while back about how in the tarot community, especially at conferences and all these in-person events, it seems that more so than any other pocket of the metaphysical community, whether you're talking about the astrology community, the pagan witchcraft festivals, the occult practitioner community, tarot tends to be the most egalitarian. And we really believe that's because of what you and Rachel did. You set that tone for our entire community so that all that legacy lives on, where the tarot community itself, all of our events are very, very egalitarian. You don't have that hierarchical, cliquish system that you see in a lot of the pockets of the metaphysical world. So thank you for establishing that
Yeah.
tone in our community and having that legacy be something that we get to benefit from.
Yeah, and I really want to thank Walden Ruth and Amberstone, who do the Readers Theater, and Thalassa in San Francisco, the BATS, Bay Area Tarot Symposium, for being part of that determination that we were going to be a community, very egalitarian community, because we respect the people who come to these things so highly. Yeah.
Carolyn, Terry, I know both of you have had many years of experience at the Wisdom of the Tarot event. Do you want to share some of your experiences, some personal insights? What has it meant to you?
I can't-
Terry,
Shall I go or am I next?
you go, Carolyn.
Well, I will say that I went as a participant in 1999 and it changed my life. I had the decks, I had read books by Mary and Rachel, but I went and here I was gathering with my hero and teachers, and the person sitting next to me, I'd done doing tarot for a few years, was opening their first deck. They knew nothing about the tarot. And we sat down and everyone in the room read a card. We began all the same, and everyone's way of approaching, whether they were brand new or had experience, was welcomed. And we learned from each other. And that kind of hallmark of respect for people at all different levels, because we're all bringing a different kind of wisdom. Wisdom of the tarot, as the title, is not one kind of wisdom. It's what do we get from exploring together and having an experience together that involves, well, we could use the four suits, our heart, our mind, our emotions, our energy. That's that holistic kind of wisdom that grows from having these experiences together. And it really did change my life, because then I became much more involved in tarot. I think the next year I started teaching at the local metaphysical shop. And then I began to go over, because I don't live too far from Rhinebeck where Rachel lives, and I would study with Rachel one-on-one. And I became a devotee of the Shining Tribe Tarot. When, people say, what tech would you bring to a desert island, or what you needed. And I didn't do it consciously, but I had to go and claim my partner's body after he died in a car crash in Montana. And I threw the box with the Shining Tribe into my pack. And in the middle of the week, I asked help. And it gave me the perfect card. It showed me a card of the soul ascending. And since then, it has been my great, great teacher. And sometimes I follow what Rachel says, and sometimes I don't. And we once did a Shining Tribe workshop with Rachel, and we were questioning her about one of the figures of what she wrote, and she read what she had wrote, and she said, I'm not sure I buy it. So it's like a diversity of decks and a diversity of our understanding, because we bring our lives to the decks. And that often happens in the past 2 years. I've been teaching, facilitating, kind of moving into that space when Rachel couldn't be there, and hoping to bring her perspective, having been her student and following the Shining Tribe, and to bring an evolving understanding of the tarot, because we change and the times change. And is this a theme? Also, what is up? Our hearts, our minds, our happenings, they come up because we're getting similar cards, and a theme kind of emerges from that, or we're doing various activities and rituals where things come up from people. So that is a little bit how it changed my life and how I think it might work. And we have that kind of theme evolving. I'm also supposed to do one other thing that I think is really important. I'm supposed to tell people how to register, right?
Yes, please.
So I'm going to drop into the chat this very long link. This is not like the quick link. This is, if you click this link, it brings you to the Omega page, where it says a little bit about Wisdom of the Tarot, and you just kind of scroll down, and then you find the link to register. And when you register, you're registering for the class, and then you're also picking out like housing, because there's various forms of housing, depending on like what kind of community you want to be in. You want to be in the shared dorms, or you want something more private, depending on your budget. There's also, you can stay off campus, which is a little more affordable, and they have wisdom. And then they also talk about all the other things that happen at Omega, from the extra kind of classes and Tai Chi, and because you learn a lot about tarot, but it's also kind of a retreat. It's time out of time. And then you get to have this kind of remove from your everyday life to be able to go to Tarotlandia. So
Yeah, I want to add, I'd like to add something to that, and that I forgot to mention is that it's in a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful location. There's a lake, there's all kinds of hiking trails, there's a meditation center, there's so many events. There's free exercise and yoga classes in the morning, classes at lunch, classes before and after dinner that are free to take. And you can also sign up for a paid session at their wellness center for all kinds of body work and so on. So they really encourage you to use it as a retreat. By the way, on the link, you can just go up to Wisdom of Tarot ? From the question mark on, you don't really need any of the rest of it.
The other thing I was going to say, if you're just listening and you're not getting the link, and if you do, I did this, Wisdom of the Tarot, Omega, you will get that.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to say, what did you say, Mary? Oh, this is super important. We really kind of build a community, and we want to share. And so at night, we hang out in the coffee shop. Like there's lots of people who we meet the people from the other classes, and we're like, do you want a reading? And we bring people over, and it's a little bit unique that we have this culture, because we've been going on, and that we do this like being out in public, that like people are like, oh, the tarot people, they're here, I want to go talk to them, they're gonna give us readings. So
yeah.
Okay, maybe I might be over my time. I should.
Not at all. And Terry, I know you've been at the event for several years. Can you share your background, how you got into it, your experiences, insights, what you've taught in the past, all of that, everything? We want to know it all.
Everything. Well, I first went to Omega to pay homage to Mary and Rachel, because I felt I don't need to study anymore. I grew up in a family of psychics. The tarot I've been reading since I'm 12, and I wanted to go and meet them. We all came of age in the tarot in the late 60s and 70s at the beginning of the new age. So I wanted to meet my tarot sisters. And what I discovered there for myself was, for me now, truly, I've been going for like 8 years, the happiest place I am on earth. And I've had a lot of experiences, if you can imagine. But being there with the tribe, with the circus, with a place I learned about different decks because I was just, committed to the Pamela Coleman Smith weight deck. And then I started looking at decks and talking to people, and they had really talked to me about they were seeing other things outside of the tarot, which I was able to bring to the paranormal, the psychic, the feelings that I talked to them about. So at Omega, you are submerged morning, noon, and night in tarot conversation. It's so exciting. It is stretched my mind. I learned phrases like what someone had told me last year: if you memorize a meaning, you stop looking at the card. And things that I pick up from people that have helped me grow and helped me look at other decks. And I guess I was almost a snob about the decks. Oh, that's not the tarot. And then I'd start reading oracle decks or tarot decks, and it's really opened my mind. And what I found there mostly is my love of beginners, people who just bought their deck in the bookstore. I am known as a very generous person, give up all my time and knowledge freely, and I'm always available there while I'm eating, while I'm walking around to discuss it. I don't do readings there except when we're in practice, but it's just been so much of a community for me. I was known as the Greta Garbo of the tarot world. You couldn't get me on the phone. You had to have the secret code to get a reading with me. And I retired finally, never been happier, and have my salon and teaching. But the community at Omega, I never leave the grounds. It's just constant, and the conversation and I had no idea when I went there what a rock star I was, because I wrote this book and people want to follow me and talk to me and hug me. And it's such love, such great love there, and such support. I know after it comes to an end, nobody wants to go home. They sit there. We're so like in this magical world. That word is overused, magical. It's truly magical there. Walk around at night with your tarot friends and talk to each other and read for each other. It's just really an experience I'm so lucky to have. And the one thing I learned from Rachel, another simple sentence: the tarot is a game. It's a game. It's not a religion. It's not, and what I teach is take all of your books and everything you learned and all those meanings. I try to unbrainwash you and help and teach you to look at that personal meaning in the card for what it says to you, your own language and your own personal relationship with the tarot. And we learn meanings there, but I help access what's going on in you. And I have a whole list of things that I want to teach there this year. Very exciting. And I can't wait to get there. And I just think about it all day. From the first time that Rachel and Mary asked me to teach a few years ago, I thought about it every day, every single day. What would I say? What would I bring? How can I do this? It just fills me up. And it's that for all of us. We just so lucky to have found one of the greatest books in the world, the tarot, the book without a binder, the story of all of us. It's just so much fun. And I hope everybody listening signs up and gets there once in your life, because especially this group, the three of us, we talked yesterday. It's like, this is going to be amazing, really. And the kind of love and support and permission I get from Mary and Carolyn to be my psychic self, because we're teaching tarot. Tarot's tarot. You do not have to be a psychic or intuitive. You can learn the system of reading cards and do accurate readings. I have this thing I can't help. I go to this other level of all the different realities that we can access, from thinking, seeing, feeling, and knowing. And tarot ignites every part of us and every place in our soul. And it's just such a thrill. Like I said, it's part circus, part magic, part at night when you walk around, you have these conversations. And it's just so fulfilling and filled with love and support for each other. And then a lot of my new friends that I met at Omega, I know now. And we shop talk about the tarot, we text, and it's just such a thrill. So please register, get out here. Because how long are we going to be doing this for? This is it in the tarot world. And to have Mary and all her knowledge, we're so lucky. So that's my speech.
And I can give the testimonial that Terry's workshops are really awesome. Before we move on to the sneak peeks from the three of you, I think I have a question that I would ask on behalf of everyone listening. I think everybody would be curious. It's inspired by what all of you have said so far collectively in terms of an overriding theme. And that is, from your perspective, how have you seen the tarot community, tarot readers, and even the tarot itself change over the decades? And stay the same, both. So how has it changed? How have you seen it evolve? And also, what has never changed? What has remained steadfast? I think those are really curious. The answers would be really interesting from the three of you.
Well, I could say something about TikTok made a huge change. These, just a couple of minute long thing, a reading for everybody that has tuned in for the day, as if it was going to apply, and often on a very personal level. So don't even break it up into 12 different zodiac signs or birth cards or anything like that. One message for everyone. But also the proliferation of decks that has come about. Because when I started, there were only a couple of decks available, if you could even find those. So
right.
yeah, that continues to change. And the buildup of the community, which continues to grow. And I think because of the development of oracles and ancestor work, there's not the hard, fast line of a very traditional meanings for cards anymore, and a mix of different systems, Reiki integrated. So there's so many things that are integrated now. So those are the things that I see most.
Go ahead.
I see the growth, right? There's so many more people are doing tarot. That year I went in 1999, there might have been 22 of us. No, I actually probably was 18. I don't know. So like a small group.
Yeah.
And of all different ages, like now tarot is being used, younger people, older people, and bringing new, fresh perspectives to it and understanding about it, and like gender, right? And so how we approach the deck is like, it's been in the tradition. And I appreciate, there's the tradition, and the tradition keeps evolving. I do not believe we have a static tradition. It is dynamic and alive, and the new people with new perspectives, bringing it in and bringing, even like activists using it. My other hat, I work for Wild Spirit in Action. We were like social justice advocates, peace, race, and doing racism. And in the 90s, I was in the closet about anything spiritual, and my tarot was like kind of a secret. Then at like 2000s, I'd bring it out just on the side, and people were like, these were activists. These were like, you're not supposed to do anything to take care of yourself, but they were like kind of fascinated with the tarot. And now in activism, there's like self-care and people using tarot, and tarot, it evolves, we evolve to like meet the moment. And that's really exciting.
Yeah. Well, through all of history, you see when the spiritualism, has been moved on, and the World War I with the seance and beginning of seance and fairies, and then World War II, what came out of that. Whenever there are times of despair, Vietnam War, we had the 70s and the New Age, and then the pandemic people went to the computer looking for what's happening here. And the tarot really opened up a lot during that time. People trying to find meaning, trying to find are we going to survive this? So there's a huge movement. It's in everything. Anytime I put television on, someone pulls out a tarot deck. And often so misunderstood, and all the scary cards that don't mean any of that. But so there's a horror movie out now called Tarot. I just start laughing, but you have to sense of humor. But it's everywhere, and it's evolving, and it's becoming mainstream. And also with the way things are changing, like the non-binary movement makes us look at the identification of the court cards and gender. And it's exciting how it's offered that to us, because those 78 cards, every card we're all going to go through. I talk about this a lot. Even if you're a baby just born for 10 minutes, you're going to go through every 78 cards. And I can prove that and show that to you. So it is so part of our life, and the archetypes and the deck, and it's the roadmap for all of us in a way we communicate with each other. And it is evolving as trends are evolving, or way people live, and it's just so exciting. I can't tell you. So I look forward to having these deep conversations and having fun readings like, is anybody ever going to love me? The number one question. That's part of the tarot too. And it's just so great when we sit in the cafe and we read each other and discuss things, and then people bring the decks out. And some of us have been honored to represent cards in the deck. The Jamie Sawyer's deck, that I was so honored to represent the moon card in a deck. For me, that was just a thrill. I love the moon, and to be at this age of my life and to actually be a tarot card, my moon face is there. And Mary, you're in that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What
Rachel,
card are you? Which card are you?
I'm one of the extra cards, one of the reader cards.
Oh, of course. Perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I love how one of the things that has not changed would be love questions to the
Yeah,
tarot,
love.
right? That never changes, no matter what the century is.
It's the number one question.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, love is everything, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah.
So now we move into the meat and potatoes of this event, which is to get that sneak peek into each of the teachers and what they will be sharing with us at the 2024 event. I think I'll start with Terry, move on to Carolyn, and then have Mary close us out for the sneak peek. So Terry, what can we expect from you for the 2024 event?
Okay, well, I'm going to go deeper into the court cards. I discovered myself looking at the court cards, that's like the kings and queens and knights, and which each suit, the cup, the wand, the sword, and the pentacle, that the very face card that you see, how to go deeper. And if you have a king of cups that looks so smiley and happy, and he's holding his cup, why is that his dominant personality? How to go deeper into the meaning. I'm going to teach that. Also, how to read the past lives through the tarot. Now, that can be fantasy, a story, but how much it reveals, and whatever we believe about that, remember, it's a game. One thing I learned I was teaching a spread at Omega called the Horseshoe. And it's a past, present, and future, and obstacles and things. And a woman that I had not seen in the room at all came up to me at the end, and she said, I have created, out of the spread you just taught, a spread for you. And it's called the Rainbow Bridge. And it's how to use mediumship to talk to people who have your loved ones who've died, or tried to reach them. Like, that is a very sacred thing I'm going to teach. I never teach it, but I decided this year, if anybody wanted to learn that, I would explain what it is, how you access speaking to the people who have passed on. There's a lot of people are curious about mediumship, and those that want to learn about that, it's quite exciting. Then my big thing is the different levels of reality and how to identify them. One of the things I'm really big on is how to teach red flags and warnings in a reading. When you're reading for someone and they might be mentally challenged or lying to you, or how to find those red flags that the cards are talking to you about who you're reading for. So that's also an exciting new thing that I've been doing.
Carrie,
And
we have a question for you. When
yes,
you teach past life readings, does it alter how you interpret the cards?
well, there's so many. Does one believe in an afterlife? Was there a past life? The thing with this and doing the past life reading, it's imagination, it's story. There's no way to prove anything, but what that story reveals, whether it is just a tool to learn deeper what your fears are, sort of like a dream interpretation. You have to be open-minded to do it, but it is astonishing how it will reveal who you are, who you're with, what your life is about now. And you know how I do spreads now. Spread is how you lay down the cards. I sometimes now just pick 3, pick 2, pick 10. I broke away from spreads that have such fixed placement, past, present, future. But I'm also, yes, a psychic, and I also have so much experience. I could quickly look at it all and interpret it, whether it's the past, whether it's the future. And so the past life is fun. And it's something I've just been doing the last couple years, and it's very revealing. I made that up. That's the tower allows you to make up things, what you want to do. And we all know you can use the cards to spy, to manipulate, to ask about other people. We're very careful about teaching about not doing that. You can't keep a person from obsessing, but we like to teach to stay away from that. Just ask about yourself, what's going on with you, So did I answer the question?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you. And tarot ethics is absolutely a really important aspect of all of that,
Right.
especially when you get into these sensitive areas like past lives and mediumship, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm big on, pointing out when people are judgmental, when they're manipulating, when they're asking questions, when they should be reading, not asking the person you're reading for, but you should tell them what you see. So I'm pretty that helps people really turn this around.
Yeah. Carolyn, would you mind sharing a sneak peek of what you will be teaching us this year?
Who knows? It depends on the group.
Who knows?
No, there are some things that are known. Like we do plan the beginning, like the first day and a half, the first 2 days, and we plan things that are grounding for people. You might say beginner, but we try and do something new. You go through the majors, the minors, the courts, and Terry's doing the courts. I'm going to do the minors, and for that first part of the day. And I'm working on a book, and it's developing something that I first did with Rachel around magic and what magic is from the tarot. And it's the magic inherent in the world. So we're gonna, I have like structure in the way I teach. I like the structure of the tarot. So I introduce that, and that's often like a nice hook or skeleton that we can use. And then to build onto it, these other layers of wisdom, of insight. So after just getting that, like, oh, how did the number help us just have a basic understanding, building on how the minors are journeys of magic. So I'm doing that. We talked about that. That's happening. Then it really will depend on what happens in the group. In years past, I've brought all these different activities and done one of them, none of them, done something else. So I both kind of come prepared with a lot of things, and I'm open to what the group needs. Each year I have done, we've had a new moon or a full moon, I think always new moon. So we've had like an extra moon ritual. One year it was, we did it outside and it was connected to Persephone, and the mosquitoes came to attack us, but then the bats came to eat the mosquitoes. We went to the stream. It was quite amazing. So the new moon is the day before. I'm not exactly sure what we'll do about the moon, but there'll be something about the moon. And we do have a lot of moons this year in Capricorn, which is the devil card. And I am focusing this year, like right now I'm doing Walking the Ways of the Summer Light. Like, how is the devil a trickster guide? And who really is the devil? Who have we turned into the devil so that we cannot beat them and ask them to help us develop our power? Working our shadow, working things that have been suppressed. So anyway, that might happen. And really, I love what the Q&A that we have, they always start each section from what people are asking. And then we have, little chats about that. And that really is, then we get together at the meals and we're like, what do people need? What do things happen? And we often have had the past couple of years, we've done this closing ritual. So we'll see.
Exciting. And Mary, what will you be sharing this year?
Oh, I've got a long list. So a lot of it will depend, but for the major arcana, so far I'm thinking about how do we turn our little mundane questions, should I go out with this person or not, into the big stories, to be able to see this as a stage in our own mythic quest. And with the cards, we can begin to see that mythic pattern in it. And with a reader that, kind of helps you see that this is, your opportunity, a challenge, a test, a possibility and potential for you to see yourself in new ways. Or whatever it is. And from a similar myth that may be told through the cards, we can see certain directions of where it came from and where it's going. So I want to look at the majors in some way along that line of taking our little stories into the big stories so that we can see ourselves as being on a fool's journey, a mythic quest. So that's the majors. And then among the minors, or not the minors, but the rest of the time, there's integrating card meanings is one of the things that I'm really, really working on. It's something that so many people ask at a particular stage. They may have memorized or learned to read the symbols and images in a particular card, but they get confused about how to put it all together. And I've learned from my own explorations and so many other people, wonderful, wonderful tools. We could do the whole 5 days on that, but I'll pick out some of the favorite ways. Things like the 3-card drawing, which I created on the spot to answer many, many years ago, probably over 20 years ago. Somebody asked, how do I integrate the cards in a reading? And somebody about 2 or 3 years before that at Omega had shown me drawings he did of his Celtic cross spreads, which were these integrated images and pictures taken from the cards into a very quick sketch drawings that he did. And I said, yeah, let's do this. So that's one of my favorite things to do. Sample readings, not only me, but probably we'll be doing at least bits and pieces of that. If not something that's in great depth, we'll see how that goes. And tarot card, that's, to not stay fixated on there's just one approach, one way, because there's a whole bag of tricks for different ways, and finding out what's natural to you. So because we've got all these different approaches, from Carolyn, from Terry, from me, people are going to go, oh, that was easy for me. And somebody else is going, I didn't get it. And they're going, yeah, you just do this. And so identifying your natural strengths honing those, acknowledging those, seeing how far you can go with those, and then pushing those boundaries as you take on something that was more difficult for you and say, you know, is there a way that I can integrate that into this, or is that not part of who and what I am as a reader? So there's different ways. So those are ideas, and several of those overlap, but that's kind of the direction I'm going.
We do have a question about possibly expanding the event to integrate a virtual component, having learned over the past years what we can do in terms of technology and accessibility. Do you plan on doing anything for the Masters of the Tarot or Wisdom of the Tarot conferences that can create a virtual component so that people who can't travel to Omega physically can still participate and be enriched by your great teachings?
Someone did ask me that question. We emailed a little bit, and I did say I would pass it on to Omega, like that this interest, right? Because if they hear interest, they may develop it. I haven't sent that email yet, but I plan to send it to Brent. So
Yeah, and I'll be talking to their marketing people next week. So we're going to, you know, go in what directions can we go in. So great, whatever suggestions you have, Carolyn, on that. But
probably not for this
not
year,
this year. Not
but
yeah.
but that we had there are 323 people who wanted to come onto this. So it shows that people are around and I want to connect and
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I'm going to turn it over to you, Carolyn, to facilitate the wisdom reading. So the
okay.
floor is yours, and I'm going to be a member now with my deck in
Yes,
hand, ready to listen and follow.
other people you may, well, actually, Rachel Pollack developed this idea of the wisdom reading of we most often, or we felt like we could only ask the tarot for individual questions. But Rachel was like, no, we can ask the tarot about anything. And let us ask about some of the largest questions we have, like what is the soul? What is the tarot? And you know, how is the tarot created? So these questions of spiritual or philosophical or collective. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull a card from the Shining Tribe, Rachel Pollack's deck, as a wisdom reading for what is the essential gift of wisdom of the tarot of this week that has been going on for 38 years. What is its essential gift to the world, maybe to the tarot community for sure. So what is its essential gift? I'm going to pull it from the Shining Tribe and say a few words about it. And then Mary and Terry are going to, from various perspectives, talk about it. Mary's going to connect it to Rider-Waite Smith. So we'll do that translating. And then people in the chat should feel free to add some thoughts. You know, there are a lot of people who are Carolyn Cushing. I think some people got forwarded the link with my name on it. So if you put something in, you may want to put your name. Just there are many Carolyn Cushings. It's quite interesting and strange. And I know there are some people in the group who've been before. I mean, everyone should feel free to chime in on what is the essential gift that you're going to see in this card. But there are people who've been before, like I saw Amy, I saw, Shelley, you know, feel free to add in some thoughts. And I'm just giving it one more shuffle. This is my final touch after I do my talking. This one card. This is the essential gift of wisdom of the tarot to the world, to the tarot community. And I'm holding it up. Oh, so interesting. Before I say anything, I invite everyone to look at this image and let, you know, just a first reaction come, a first burst of insight. Maybe you're drawn to one particular aspect. You know, it could also be something that's confusing, but it draws you. Sometimes we have oracular zoom because you see things you wouldn't see if you were seeing the card in person. And so you're looking at this image. This is the essential gift of wisdom of the tarot to the world. I see a joke in there. So I will say, so this card, I will just equate it, knowers, the knowers are equivalent to knights. It's a little different system. This is what would you call a court card, but Rachel called vision cards. And trees are the suit that contains fire. So this is a little bit the Knight of Wands, would correlate. And we have here an image that I know from this deck. There's a flower in the, and then coming from the flower, there's like vining. There are all these leaves. There are all these leaves. And this is really kind of both an opening of the heart and a sending forth of energy. And so it makes me want to say, people will have different things when they look at it, you know, wisdom of the tarot, there's no knowledge involved in connection, but it opens up this energy of our heart that shines forth, that can maybe moves even out beyond us. And from that, from each one of us, we are sending forth these green leaves, this new insights. And then, you know, these leaves make me think of like kind of networked. So we go off into the world, we bring what we learn, we're there in that week together, and we go off and then bring this energy, this new insight, this wisdom of the heart to other places too. That's my super fast. I do just want to note that someone also put, and I love this, you know, that the mosquitoes were back. The mosquitoes are our mosquitoes. You know, something funny and weird that comes to you about a card may, you know, have something important to say. And the mosquitoes feed bats. Mosquitoes feed bats. Bats, I would go to, you know, sacred to Persephone. So something of that divine power. We feed the divine power. I'm playing with your mosquitoes. I love that you shared it.
Okay.
So that's me sharing from the Shining Tribe. Did we want to pass to Mary so you can do Rider-Waite Smith and kind of orient people which card this is?
So someone else also said that it reminded him or her of bees, like releasing bees that go out and pollinate. So yeah, that very much speaks to the traditional meaning. The other thing that I noticed in the Shining Tribe, if you'd hold that up for a second again, is I'd forgotten that was the flower. And as I was just looking at the image, it looked like a tree and almost like someone who is a keeper of the trees. And then the head looks very much like a heart. And so that kind of brain heart level where they're not separate from anything. So getting strength from the tree, from nature, from the bees that are around. And when I visited Rachel's grave, and the whole hour I was there was only once when the wind came up and these tiny golden leaves just were swirling up at the top of the trees, like gold sparkles. And only once in the entire hour, the other times that the wind came up, it didn't do that at all. I never found where those tiny golden leaves came from either. So there's something, you know, Rachel's speaking again. My experience with that deck is it's like she's talking to me. When I look in her book, it's an oracle, but it will directly address whatever I've said, including some words that I just, you know, said or part of the question. It's powerful. So here is all that inspiration is going to go out from here. And that's what I really feel is that the Knight of Wands is showing us that whatever we take from Omega, which is so filled with nature and trees and, you know, walking through the woods if you want, being by the lake, you know, the water going through, that we will take from there and not just keep it for ourselves, but as the night, we're to spread it. Yeah. As simple as that.
Carrie.
Well, I picked from the Rider-Waite, and I find it fascinating. It's we all come to this as a plant, as a tree that's growing, that needs to shed leaves, to be tended to be patient, to watch how it grows. They all fit together, the three cards. And we'll find farmers and nurturers there, and from our wisdom and what we have to let go of. and we're all growing. And so I find all the three cards fit together. They really do.
I mean, you have a lot of leaves in your card.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you have bees and so funny. But you could see how three different images, all saying very similar things, very powerful. And the whole experience of being together is to help each other grow, to listen, to watch, to be patient, to tend to each other and inspire and talk to the plant so it can grow. Beautiful. And now what's Benebell pick?
Oh, I didn't pick, but that's what I
Oh.
was thinking too, connecting the three cards. I really saw, so as soon as I saw the knower of the trees and the idea of the Knight of Wands, embodying the Knight of Wands, and then you pick the Seven of Pentacles, even just scrying into it, almost literally looking at the symbolism and the imagery of the cards. I wonder if the tarot readers at the event would go out and actually read to be a medium for the trees, that there's tree spirits that need to be
Ah,
heard, and that the
Yes.
tarot readers can actually be the spokespeople and hear and channel the messages from the spirits of those trees that are there. Because
Yeah.
that's what I got, the
Ooh.
knower of the trees, and you have the Knight of Wands, right? And then
They're
even
practical.
the image of the Seven of Pentacles, it's like coming really close up to the plant life and listening and hearing them. And so that's where
Yeah.
my mind went.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Beautiful.
want to add one thing, and that's that I deliberately picked the Knight of Wands to kind of show it in a different deck. But before we got on, I picked a card from my favorite deck, the BTS, Bangtan Sonyeondan K-pop group, and it was the Chariot, and he's in a car riding out, and the description of the people who created this said that it came from a song about the ego, because they did 2 albums based on Carl Jung. And the ego not as being egotistical, but the one who decides, who moves forward, who carries on, and takes out into the world. So it's interesting that even though it's a different card, the Chariot, it's still talking about, taking from being in nature, which those other 2 cards are really about, and taking that out into the world. Yeah.
With two
We have a
sides.
comment. Oh, sorry. We have a comment, Terry.
Yeah.
You were called the woman who talks to trees.
Oh,
Ah,
thank you. Yes.
yes.
I want to say that most likely there will be some BTS presence at the week.
All
I
right.
can't help it. Ah,
And they have a deck. You can ask Mary. I bet Mary will bring that deck.
I promise.
So we have a comment, question, or sort of a follow-up to what you all had just said. It sounds like some people were interpreting the cards that were pulled and in terms of what just happened, that maybe there was a rebellion coming from the cards themselves. And is there another message that coming from those cards that you felt that wasn't in fact even answering your question, Carolyn? That there's the cards are trying to say something else entirely to us. Did you get that
This
feeling,
card
vibe
is
beyond
not,
question?
or is not just about the tarot week, the wisdom of the tarot. It's about something bigger. Is that maybe?
I'm trying to interpret the question. I think, yes, I think they think they're trying to say that the 3 cards that were just presented seem to be giving a message that's like they want to say something else entirely. Like, you know how sometimes I ask a question of you and then you say, well, I want to talk
Yes,
about something
okay,
else
but so
entirely.
what-
And you talk about that thing. So I think that's
Yeah.
the
If
inquiry.
it wasn't really about the tarot of the wisdom week, what is it about? I mean, it could be about, and the trees. Okay, yesterday I was at another tarot friend presenting on Lilith, the dark goddess Lilith, breaking out, decolonizing our minds and our ideas about gender. And Rachel Teferet, she did this amazing kind of pulling in, connecting Lilith, Inanna, Urgashel with trees, and monoculture of trees, but what our variety of trees. And so this is a tree. And then Terry's called the woman who speaks to trees. is there a bigger message here about paying and nature? We're talking about nature, Omega is beautiful. And there's something about breaking out of our, we think we're only human, like connecting more. The human is apart from nature. We are not apart from, we are part of nature. And it's moving into that tree consciousness.
Maybe an assignment during the week of everyone going out during their break times and doing a reading for trees, a tree, a plant. I don't think I've done it. Actually, once I did. I shouldn't say I was a slightly altered state of consciousness. And I took my deck out into the woods and talked to some trees, but yeah.
Nice.
Just a comment I think is really interesting in terms of my observations. The spiritual and also the corporate geopolitical seem to be in alignment lately, which is this. So in the corporate geopolitical world, there's a greater focus on carbon emissions, nature, environmentalism. Even the big corporations are really focused on environmentalism. There's a lot of new laws and statutes about that across the world. But then also, I think I've heard a lot of spiritualists and mystics suddenly have a re-pivot into a stronger attunement to what's happening to nature and not seeing humanity so divorced from nature, and that we are more tied to it than we think. And so if we really care about humanity, instead of focusing on human world problems, focus more on nature. And so it's interesting how then you have that card that you pulled seems to be echoing all of these things that have been churning both in the geopolitical spaces and the spiritual mystical spaces.
So thank you, Kelly, for rebelling. I think it
Yes,
makes
thank
like
you.
that.
Yeah.
Carolyn, did you want to continue with the
Do we
workshop?
keep doing, are we gonna ask more questions, or we want to keep going with this reading for people?
I think we can do both. Continue with the reading. I'll continue to monitor the chat and the Q&A.
Okay.
So if people have questions, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A, and then I will interrupt Carolyn as needed.
Okay, so we wanted to give you a reading, for a personal reading. We did the wisdom reading, personal reading, something that would kind of help you make your decision about your tarot learning in general. This is a general reading, but it would also give you information to decide if you were gonna want to come to the week or the weekend. We do want to mention the weekend. Actually, just before I go there,
Can
Mary,
we do a
what-
quick sidebar? Mary, can you explain that? Wisdom of the Tarot, Masters of the Tarot, and just give a lay of the land?
Yeah, the weekend is an opportunity for people to come and study with three amazing presenters who have written books, created decks, are very active in the tarot world. So to learn at a master's level, you're expected for the most part to have some background in tarot, although there's usually a couple of people who show up that don't or opening a deck for the first time, but they get lots and lots of support. So they are presenting usually cutting edge things that they are working on and doing in, that they've really prepared, rather than this kind of free, loose experience. And so we've got Jamie Elford, who has written the book and worked on the design for quite a few, I don't even remember how many, decks and
20.
books. Really? 20? Oh my gosh. And I don't have their books with me right now. I can't think off the top of my head. I can explain the
Jamie's
age.
book is The Tarot Inspired Life.
Inspired Life, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. And then there's Nancy Antonucci, who is also an author of 2 or 3. I think there's a third one that's going to be coming
Psychic
out.
Tarot and Tarot
Yes.
Rituals. And Nancy is here. Oh, good, we got them.
Yay!
She's here, and
Yay!
she dropped
Nancy's
into
book's
the
like,
chat.
yeah.
The weekend is going to have a program, not exactly like this, but like get to know it. And that link is in the chat, Facebook event.
Yeah, so we get, their developed wisdom in a way that's taken them to the level of masters. And I want to say also that Nancy is very much into games, play, movement, incorporated, that it's our body will tell us a lot of things. If Nancy wants to add a statement there, please do. Well, I mentioned that the other person is Michelle Welsh, who has been, she has 3 metaphysical bookstores in the Texas area, and has been running with her husband the three major tarot conferences around the United States, and teaches psychic reading as well as tarot and many other forms of it. So she has a couple of books on more along the lines of psychic reading, but also teaches tarot through her bookstores, and has not been teaching at any of her own conferences. So this is the opportunity for us to gain her wisdom. So Nancy said the body never lies. Woo! Yes.
Nancy will
So
help
she'll
you
be bringing
connect
some
with
of
your
that
body.
wisdom. Yes. Yeah, connected to the body.
So we're focused on the week now. Of course, we'd love to have you all at the week, but there's also the weekend. Maybe you go through both, you know, it's kind of a nice flow.
Ask for a discount. You'll get a discount if you do both.
You get a discount if you do both. So do that. But these questions are in general about your tarot learning at all. And I just made a little PowerPoint to.
Plus, we're also all there, aren't we? What's that?
So
Oh,
I'm going here. I'm going to the reading here. Play from start. Okay, this is very brief. I just, because it's hard to remember. So first, card 1 of this reading, we're doing a little separately. And I need to just do this. What wisdom of the tarot wants to show itself to me? And I put in this summer. I put in this little. So right
everyone
now,
in the chat should be using their tarot deck and following along and drawing a card for themselves, right?
Yep. Just give a shuffle quickly and pull a card. I'm mostly giving this as homework, but it'd be fun to see in the chat what cards come up. What wisdom of the tarot wants to show itself to you this summer? Give a shuffle, pull a card, drop that name into the chat. Let's see what pops up. Maybe I should pull a card too.
oh yeah.
And I'm just kind of giving a little pause to see when some things start to show up in the chat. Oh, Justice, 9 of Swords. Healer, Gift of Spirits.
Couple of Pentacles.
Water. Yeah. Cups, what? Oh, it's a variety of things. Okay. Hence, Strength. Sun, Lovers. Oh, we're getting the whole deck here. We're getting the whole deck.
Love.
Wands, 8 of Wands. Exciting. Temperance. I was working with Temperance this week. Okay. Hi, Sandra. 8 of
I've seen 5 Pentacles cards so far.
8 of Fire. So we're just starting this reading. You'll want to reflect more on this. And now I'm just going. All right. So to give you the full reading, it's a 3-card reading. I want to give you more than 1 card, but these and we're not going to do this now. I just want to give you the card. So I just wrote down card 1 that we just did. What wisdom of the tarot wants to show itself? Card 2, how can I open myself to that wisdom? And this card, you pull and you shuffle that, and this may help you think about, like, what's the best format? Your format is coming to the week, reading books, doing readings, things like that. And the final card, how will I be changed by the encounter? You know, if you do these things, if you go through and do it, what might happen? How might the future evolve? So this is just a reading for you to do for home play and to just help you contemplate if the Omega week or the weekend is a good match for growing your tarot wisdom. And question 2, the Tower. Interesting. Tower's been coming up. So that's a little tip to help you discern what you might like to do. And that is the
I can drop in the chat the 3 cards in case people didn't take notes.
Okay, great. Oh, thank you. Perfect. So people will have those there, and to keep kind of trying to decide what you might like. We'd love to see you at the week.
The three of us are there the weekend too, right? I know I'll be there. People want to
Yeah,
meet us or talk to us or say hello. We're all there.
yeah.
You know, we're in the audience, but we're on the grounds talking to trees.
Yeah, and Rachel's partner, her wife, Zoe Madoff, will be there for the weekend and possibly for the 5-day. Yeah, she's always been a great support person for everything that goes on.
There's a question, Carolyn. The third card, the third inquiry was, how will I be changed by the encounter? Or can you clarify that third question again?
Yeah, how will I be changed? This is kind of the outcome card. If you do this learning, what will you get? It's the future card, but you know, how will you be changed by the encounter with the wisdom that you develop over the summer? And you can always change that time period if you want. This question that you can modify. So
So
are
we're
there,
opening. Oh, go ahead. Do you want
I was
to
gonna say, are there any more questions?
We wanted to open the floor up to Q&A. Any questions people have for the panelists? It's a really great opportunity that you have these three right now, on hand for you to ask any question. I would definitely utilize that opportunity. So if you have questions, and do you guys have any limits to what those question topics can be? You're open to any scope, right?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a complete open forum.
My
How
favorite
would you not take
emoji.
advantage of this? Exactly. What is your favorite card and why, to all three of you, one by one?
Okay, my favorite card is the card I just pulled I'm working with. So but right now my favorite card is the knower of trees. No, I mean I do have some favorites, but it is really hard to change. And the favorite card is the one that helps in the moment, the situation. When I ask help and a card comes,
Mhm.
sometimes I'm like, oh, that's my favorite card.
All of them, because I've been doing this for 56 years, and so I've gone through stages with all of them. But I would say, the Hermit is my soul card. My birthday adds up to a 9, and keeps coming back around. I'm always very grateful when it shows up.
Of course, in the major is the moon. And I change, it's hard. It's like picking your favorite child. And I change, but lately this 8 of Wands is one of my favorite, moving quickly through the air at a rapid pace in one direction to the great river in the sky. And I just love this card. It has no, it's the only card, right, that doesn't have a pictorial image. It's only the wands flying through the air. Sets me free from the visual that might only make me think one way. This sets me free to fly.
That was my card pull as well. We have a logistical question. Does the schedule for the event allow for the attendees to attend all sessions, or do they have to pick and choose between like class A, class B, etc.?
No,
They attend all of our, we meet together as a group all of the time, but there are during the breaks, before lunch, after lunch, before dinner, after dinner, early morning, if you can get up that early. Omega offers all kinds of free classes and sessions for people to enjoy that Omega experience. And by the way, it varies from year to year, but the food is usually fabulous. It tends to be vegetarian with a little bit of chicken and fish, maybe 1 or 2 days. The coffee shop, cafe, does offer meat. And then Wednesday afternoon and evening is a free time, either hang out on campus or go into town. There's all kinds of tourist attractions and fabulous places to eat in town. So otherwise, we're all together all the time.
To the three of you, what is your most challenging card and why?
I think I have like nemesis cards periodically. And the 2 of Pentacles and the 7 of Swords are the most, because I like to do a lot of things then I end up juggling too much, or I'm doing the things and I'm looking, I'm moving one way, looking back here. So those cards, they're like they show me the challenge in myself, and they come up. I'm like, oh, why are you after me? So they are kind of helpful, right? Like you have nightmares and your dreams are trying to help you. But when they come up, I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh, that's my pattern again.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I find the challenging card to be the Six of Swords. When I get in this boat, it's all about childhood trauma and trying to get away from it. You know, these things that happen to you as a child and how to let them go and study them and have them be a part of you, but not define you. So this is a real challenging card. I'm grateful for it. It reminds me of, almost we try to escape, we can't escape, but how lucky we are to have events happen to us that give us the lessons to go deeper into who we are. So this is my challenging card.
And I always find that the challenging cards that I've encountered, by working through them, end up becoming a favorite card.
Yeah.
Because I learn, the depth of what they're really about over time if I continue to work with them. And one of the ones was the Empress. I used to call her the milksop until I was pregnant and living in Mexico and really kind of delving into it, and wrote an imaginative piece for a class I was taking at school. So that gave me the opportunity to see her in a whole completely new light, in depth. And every one of the challenging cards has taught me something so special that they're special to me forever and ever and always. Yeah.
I read someone was asking about the Devil card, and the Devil, basically makes you live up to your full potential, and my partner in life that died used to say that if the devil's not in my reading, Terry, I'm not living up to my full potential. I said, oh, please. But it is like, come on, bring it on. So it's a real challenge, but it tells you what your fears are, your obsessions, what you're chained to. It's really good when you get that card. It's just going to bring it out into the open. And that's what we all want. That's why we study these things, right? To grow and to learn who we are, and it's all about power and attachment and letting it go and all pulling it back. Isn't the human life experience is so exciting, isn't it?
Carrie, your remark brings us to our next question. How has the tarot transformed you the most?
Oh, well, I've been a reader since I'm 12 years old. I'm constantly in change and transformation and awareness, and I live the living tarot. I see it everywhere. It's a part of me. I see messages and signs and symbols and the tarot every place. So it's changing me constantly. And I'm so grateful to have it as my roadmap in life. But ask me if I've ever read for myself. Never once. Never. I learned what I learned from the generosity of spirit of reading for others, of experiencing the tarot in the life. But I don't go to it. Maybe I'll pick a card. How's my vacation going to be? Or what did he really mean? But no, I never have ever had a full reading.
Wow.
From myself ever.
I read for myself all the time.
You do?
Yeah.
Devil card, obsession.
Maybe I'm just having my life is one long reading, because it really is. I went through a spiritual direction training program. That sounds more directive than it is, but kind of spiritual listening. And there's the phrase Anam Cara, who is your soul friend? who's like a spiritual guide, but not like really directive, like just your soul friend,
Yeah.
friend to your soul. And the tarot is my soul friend. And I go to the tarot all the time for the big picture questions, for
Yeah.
like practical things, for when I'm in despair. I'm always, and so I'm reading for myself in that way of having an ongoing check-in with this wisdom guide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would be
Yeah.
much lonelier in my life if I didn't have the tarot.
I think that what I would add to what I said, that I've never read for myself, but every reading I've ever done revealed something about who I was. And that's back to the questions from the audience that we're with. Everything we're going to teach comes from what we feel in that room for what they're asking of us. And so every reading I have done is about me. I'm not saying I'm talking about myself, but I'm learning who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, my book, Tarot for Yourself, was about how in reading for yourself, you learn where you're extra optimistic, where you're very pessimistic, where you create fantasies, where you don't. So it's been this incredible self-learning experience when I follow up on readings. Did this actually happen? If it didn't happen, what were the cards trying to tell me that I didn't see? Where was the block in that? What else was going on? So all of these questions have been part of my experience, and I think broadened. It makes me more sensitive to other people when they're being very pessimistic or optimistic overly, or where they're and negating something that's very obvious that it's there. Where do I do that? And in reading for myself, I've started to see where I avoid things, don't want to look at it. So yeah, it helps me to recognize it in other people that I read for, as well as helping me in myself. The other thing about that I've really learned from the cards is that you could teach an entire interdisciplinary degree program, 4-year college degree, using the cards to go into mathematics, physics. How does tarot work? Is it, what are the mechanisms behind it? Psychology, art, theater, literature. Yeah, it could be the basis of an entire interdisciplinary 4-year college program degree.
We have a philosophical, metaphysical question for you three, maybe. Do you feel that doing a reading in and of itself has a subtle influence on the outcome that unfolds? So does the reading, in fact, when you draw the cards, does that act itself become a form of magic that has an impact on the event you were asking about? Thoughts?
So one of the things I've always, both Rachel and I would do this periodically, is can we come up with a really short statement about what tarot is, or what its purpose is, or whatever. It's one of these wisdom question kinds of things, but we're asking ourselves, how would we say this? And for me, the purpose of tarot is to meet whatever comes in the best possible way. So even if there's a prediction, for instance, troubled times, difficulties, to not just say, oh, how can I get out of this difficulty? That may be part of it. Or how, if this difficulty is coming, how can I meet it in a way that's going to be a growth process for me, that's going to help me in my situation, my community, whatever it applies to. So the purpose of tarot is to help you meet whatever comes in the best possible way.
So that when you are doing a reading, Mary, you are influencing, because that's your purpose, the reading to help people move that way. Yeah.
Yes.
I do think, so, tarot is showing the future. Like, sometimes it's really not very psychic, you know, someone's like living their life and they're doing things, particular things that are gonna lead to this pathway, and the card, you kind of see it, so. But they can, in the way I do, like, I don't use it as much for prediction, but I, you know, do stuff like what, you know, if I do these things, what might happen? So if you see a reading, like when I talk with people, I'm doing a reading for them, we see things moving along. Do you want that? You know? And if you don't, what might you do to shift things? And you may not be in charge. So if you end up in a situation you don't want to be, how might you work with it? So it might shift, you may or may not have any bearing on the outcome, but you might be gathering some resources, ideas, your inner strength, or knowing you should check in with a helper that can help you deal with what comes. So of course it influenced. I had this thought, I think it's illustrated, like maybe the most effective tarot reader is the one that's always wrong. Because for bad readings, right? You get people getting bad readings. If you were always wrong, then you would be right because you help people avert things.
Yeah.
Not avert the good things, right? That would be bad. Like, not always, accuracy maybe is not the goal.
Yeah. True.
Carrie?
Well, it is the experience, the message. Of course, we influence. It's part of who we are. You know, I come from the psychic realm. And so I ask myself all the time, how do I know what I know? How can I accurately predict psychological profiles and names and dates, and, you know, and I use the cards as a tool. I've had many terrible readings from other people that actually changed my life, that said things to me that what I call the tattoo that could never be removed, that were really nasty. And I turned myself over to them. I was innocent, I was open, and they said things to me that my whole life I wondered about, even though I'm a professional and analyzed it. I found some of those readings to be coming from the best teachers I ever had. They taught me how to read by not blurting things out like that, by coming from a compassionate heart and a really caring, and my whole thing with reading is to help people liberate themselves, to be free, to let go of where they're stuck, and to see a future. And you know, it wasn't till just before I retired from reading that I started telling a few people that I never saw them in a relationship, say, because it took me years to really look at something, not come from a place. I just knew that I was right. And every time I went with it, they said, thank you for saying that. I knew I wasn't cut out for this. Everyone could have a relationship, but depends on what kind. But that kind of all perfect thing that everyone's looking for is a very rare jewel to find, because we all meet each other to work through things and to grow. But you can't help but be an influence. The reader brings who they are, what they say. You can't take it back. That's why in the cards there's many infinity signs, because what you put out goes on forever, and it affects the next person, the next person, the next person. So sometimes I try not to get caught up in analyzing any of that too much, but I love to teach it and make people be aware. Just go with the reading if you come from a place of really trying to help. Yes, you bring who you are and all your experience to it. So, yeah, we do have an influence. Again, there's nothing more exciting than doing readings. So much fun, isn't it?
What do you think of using spirits to help with tarot readings versus your own power?
Well, you know, that's a whole I could talk for 2 hours nonstop about the
You have
spirit.
to come to the week to get that.
You gotta come, sign up.
Soundbite, everyone. Soundbite.
No spoilers here. You have to show up. But actually today at Tarot Salon, I invited a 87-year-old woman who's a scholar in seance and the paranormal. So we talked a lot about it. We're both come from a skeptical place. What is spirit? What is soul? What is science? What is energy? And also in the spirit world, there are pranksters. Sometimes I don't believe in spirits at all, but I've had experiences where they've appeared in my room and talked to them. I have done mediumship seances I know one person who's on listening to this chat now. In the 80s, we used to sit together and do mediumship for people. It was astonishing. So what is it? We're reading of the person that actually is sitting there, their memory, their grief, their feeling. That's a whole separate thing. Then there's the science of electricity, and that grief and hallucination can be a very real thing you could read that could appear in front of you. That's a whole different area. But you need a lot of experience, and that's a religious experience, talking about spirits. And it's so separate from tarot, but we'll talk a lot about that when I teach you the Rainbow Bridge, the respect that you must have when you go in that arena. You'll scare yourself. It's like, the Ouija board. This is my mouse pad.
Yay.
So, that's fun to discuss. And one night at cafe, we can talk a lot about this because everybody wants to know. They're curious. Be careful if you go to a medium. If you're sad and you're grieving, they're going to play with you. And, so that Houdini is my mentor because he was a debunker. And so why? Because he was a true believer looking for the authentic. And I feel that way. And I'm the girl with the pen. I will come up to you if I don't like what you're doing as a medium, and I will gently tell them to stop it. It says in the internet, I'm like the psychic police, because this is even in doing a reading, you must approach it with such respect and purity of doing it, because you have an influence over people. It's so important. And we talk a lot about that on our classes about style and delivering and not blurting out and compassion and non-judgment. It's so important in learning how to read.
There's a comment that I am appreciating. Sheila saying, in my younger days, no reader could answer the question I wanted to answer for which it taught me I had to discover it myself.
That's right. We're
And
all on a journey.
that is an emphasis of, using the tarot, becoming the tarot reader that you are meant to be, doing on your skills, what your unique approach is, and reading for yourself. Maybe that's all you do. You don't have to read for others.
Yeah, that's right.
I wonder, Benebell, you have been so generous with your time and people. I wonder if we should kind of wrap up. Did we get to the questions?
How about one last question and then we'll wrap up, because I think it's a nice closing question for the three of you. So apologies, there were a lot of questions for the three of your benefit. A lot of people had a lot of great questions. I'm just sorry to those who are in attendance that we didn't get to yours. Final question for you three. What's the best piece of advice you have ever gotten? And then we'll close out.
About the tarot.
Around tarot. Best piece of advice
Let's
around
keep it to tarot. Yes, let's keep it to
Yeah,
tarot.
okay.
I have one that is life, and it's from Rachel Pollack. I think she did it as a video for Masters of the Tarot. And she was quoting, I can't remember who, so I remember it's Rachel. What you love loves you back.
Yes.
And I have loved the tarot, and it has loved me back. And in my life, other things, what you go toward, that open heart of the knower of trees, when you send that out, it comes back to you. And the tarot community too has provided that love. And so tarot, what you love loves you back.
That's good. I've been told as a 12-year-old, the tarot is never wrong. The cards are never wrong. It's the interpretation that could be questioned. And the other advice I got is from Agatha Christie, who said, when you're trying to solve a mystery, don't make up an elaborate story. Just look right in front of you and you will solve it. And the tarot, if you just read your cards, it's right there, as clear as could be. And in Tarot Salon, I always am saying, look how clear. It's so clear, it's right there. And they go, yes, Terry, you've been doing it for 55 years. But if you just look at the cards and don't try to make up this big, grandiose, embellished story, it's your answer will be right there on the table. Psychic, no psychic, the cards are always right.
And mine goes right along with that. The one thing when people ask what one piece of advice I'd give is simply describe the card. Start out with no meanings, no interpretation, simply literally describe the picture on the card. And then you can turn it into an I statement and suddenly it just,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a super powerful technique.
Mm.
I learned from Mary Greer. Mary K. Greer.
yeah.
So I want to meet all 320 of you in August. I look
Yeah.
forward to it. Want to see every one of you there.
Yes, definitely.
Because
All
it's
the
really-
questions we didn't answer,
Yeah.
you can come and
Yeah.
ask those there, and they might even totally transform the entire week.
I
Yeah.
did see a few of the questions that we didn't quite get to, or maybe we touched on earlier, and they are like, that's those kind of questions we do in the Q&A.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
So
And
next-
Benebell, I
we'll
do
be
want to
here
thank
next-
you.
We'll be here next Sunday, Benebell, doing it again.
No, they gotta come to the week. They gotta come
There's
to the week.
something else. They have to come.
Oh,
And
they gotta
Benebell,
come.
please, I do want to thank you so much for doing this. So you're an interviewer extraordinaire.
It was
Yes.
very easy. You guys did the job for me. I was more of an attendee if anything else, taking notes and really interested in what the three of you had to say in terms of insights. I want to thank those in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. Please consider joining us over the summer at the event. It's a fantastic opportunity to meet the great pillars of our community and also connect with other people that share the same passion as you. Carolyn, can you drop into the chat one last time the registration link so the people don't have to keep scrolling back? So it's really easy for them to click on the link and
Yeah.
register or look at the registration information.
I've done something. Uh-oh. Okay. Yes, there's the link.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm copying the long link.
Yeah, only needed up to the end of the title of the class.
But I have,
Just before the question mark, you can cut everything after.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. But you click,
Yeah.
right now, if you're in the chat, you click that live link, it'll bring it up, or Google.
Yep.
Wisdom of the Tarot, Omega.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for your time. Well, this ends our session today. And if you want to continue it, you have to come join us in person live over the summer.
So thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Usually we would just stay for a minute and be by ourselves. I do see people.
We can stay for a minute and be by ourselves, cognizant that everyone's listening. How does that sound? So we can still wrap up and pretend nobody's listening, but know that everyone's listening. How does that
Right.
work?
That was really good. I thought you were terrific.
I
All of
pulled,
us.
I pulled
Fun.
gratitude cards for each one of you.
Oh,
Oh,
This is for Benebell, Empress.
oh, Empress. yeah.
Empress.
You presided over us in this calm and embracing way.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have this thought that our great numbers, because you helped with promotion. I know that your audience there, you shared your audience and platform with us. So you really manifested for us. And just thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Thank you for being here.
And then Mary, I pulled the 7 of Trees, which is such an
Ooh.
interesting
Knower of trees
card.
too. And then the 7 of
Yeah.
Pentacles earlier.
A lot of
Yeah.
trees and the
Yeah.
7s, yes.
Yeah.
And this card, this was a
The
favorite
backbone.
card of Rachel's. It was the only one she signed because she loved the artwork. And
Ah,
And it is a spine. I don't think this
Yep,
is in the book.
spine.
Like I came to some meeting after doing a yoga class, and it's like this card invites you to the spine of your life.
Ooh.
So like, I'm appreciating you, Mary, like you are the spine of this tarot wisdom, of this community, of the network of trees. You know, like the trees are much more connected and communicate, and then they help those that are sick. So thank you
Yeah.
for being our,
And all those deep
Yes.
roots under the ground that
Yeah.
Mary has.
yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
Thank you.
Mary,
Who's that wild
for being
thing?
the high priestess,
The high priestess.
Of
Yeah.
course.
appropriate, you know,
Of
and
Yes.
you know, this is another moon connection,
Perfect.
your
Yeah.
wisdom,
Yeah.
psychic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you know, in this deck, I love it. Actually, it's a really fierce high priestess. It's almost like the mask that Jason wears in the horror movies.
Oh my God, that'll be me.
Yeah, it's like a different, it's not so delicate. It's like, here I am in the world, ready
Yeah.
to give this wisdom to make things for people.
What is that
Yay.
thing on the ground? Is that a
Here
fish?
it's a fish.
A
and
serpent.
snake.
Oh, yeah.
Fish and a snake.
There are a lot of
Yeah.
fish and snake in there.
Love that card.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's thank you for being you, and I'm very
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah, this has been fantastic. I can't tell you how warm and full I feel from being here
I
with
know.
you all and with everybody that came to and
Yeah.
responded to things.
yeah.
Great
Someone joined
synergy.
us from Minsk at 2:39 in the morning. Wow.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
thank
Irina.
you.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Well, maybe we could talk about doing this, you know,
It's a good
again with
thing
people.
for Omega to know. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Online tarot salon, Terry, something for you
Yeah,
to
it's like
consider.
tarot salon.
Yeah.
And everyone
and
picks a card and
to say to you all and people listening, so, oh, this is all recording.
okay.
I can stop the recording now.